Good morning, everyone. Hey, MH Cheat, Xandra. It is so cold. I'm that girl. Good morning. Um, I'm gonna have a blanket. Like it is ridiculous. It is 1 degree right now. One. Just that's it. Just one. Um. Anyways, are we good? Can we? My mic going through? I feel weird without any type of headphones on. Um. Haven't been to a live stream in a while. School's wild right now. That's okay, Xander. It's good to talk to you. It's good to see that you're hanging in there with school. So yeah, I decided to do like a live stream instead. That way we can actually like talk and chat and be excited about the episodes on HBO. Plus it's a lot less work for me to have to edit afterwards. Or else you're at a cozy 16 degrees. Hey Diaz. So what I did is I went through and I just grabbed a bunch of, like, I don't know if you've seen in my other reviews, but I'll just try to grab clips from the episode so that you guys have something to look at and like little reminders on what I want to talk about. Because I can't just show the episode on here because that's not legal. But yeah, so do you guys just want to jump in this? Right? Like this is episode. There's so much going on here. Cat and chat. Hey, Rockefeller. Oh, you heard a Discord. You probably heard a Discord ping. Because it's actually probably from my speakers being on. I think I'm in streamer mode. Let me check. Thank you for letting me know, because that would be obnoxious, right? There we go. Because that's not legal. Yeah. Anyways. All right, so I'm just going to start this off with, there's going to be spoilers in this. Obviously, we're going to talk about the show, so there's going to be a ton of spoilers about the episode, which is episode 3 of the show. And we will talk about the game in this channel. We're going to do our best as a group, as a community, to not chat about a lot of what happens in the future of the game, but what happens in the game up until these moments. It's going to be tough, but we're going to do our best, right? All right, so this one was a little different, right? We all noticed that we didn't start in the past at the beginning, which was obviously very intentional because we spend a lot of time in the past throughout the rest of this whole video. And I hit my mic so much, I can't edit that out on this. But when I get to talk with my hands, I just hit my mic. So you guys have to deal with it. Best episode of TV I've seen in a long time. It was really good. Yeah, just like overall feelings. It was a welcome change for sure from the game story-wise. But yeah, we didn't start in the past. We started with Joel and Ellie. And this was neat. I like how, I don't want to say Joel's acting like a child here, but he's still super upset about Tess. And he's literally giving Ellie the silent treatment, right? Hey, Joanna. Which, yeah, like, there's a couple of lines here that are repeated from the game. And I do enjoy that. But what's the best way to do this? I'm trying to make it so my cursor's not on the screen for you guys. I liked how Ellie was just like, no, I'm not apologizing. I don't feel bad here. This wasn't my fault. And I think that's a little bit different from the game because if I remember correctly, in the game, she was like a little bit more careful with her words at this time because she didn't want to anger Joel more, right? Like she was a little bit more upset and just like, I don't want to poke the bear. But in this, she was just straight up like, no, this isn't my fault. Nobody told you to do this. You can't be mad at me. And I think Joel responded to this really well. Like immediately he actually starts talking to her after giving her the silent treatment. So that's something, right? Good morning. Yes, everyone, hello. But yeah, I was actually surprised about this. But this Ellie, and we're going to talk about this a lot in this episode, but she's the same in so many ways. But I just feel like there's more Last of Us Part 2 Ellie in her than Part 1. I don't know if it's intentional, but like she's less like a little kid. It may have been him trying to calm down enough not to snap on her. Sometimes we all get angry and need to keep up. That's true. Yeah, definitely. Like, he's just like, if I say anything right now, it's going to come off super aggressive and I'll just yell. So that's true. Yeah. But yeah, definitely the silent treatment. Sort of being, agree on her personality, sort of being future shifted. I think they anticipated multiple seasons and wanted it not to be a wild shift. Yeah, from season 1 to season 2. I talked about that too a bit, and that crossed my mind. Because there was a huge shift with her between part 1 and part 2. But I think most of us kind of, you know, like a lot of time passes and we experienced what Ellie experienced, and there's a lot of points in her history where I think that shift in her personality is understandable, but it was a little drastic, and so they just didn't want people maybe to not be able to follow along. I don't know. Like I said, we're gonna talk about it more, but I actually liked how she's like, I'm not saying sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. Like, she's really mature in this part. Kind of knows that Joel's not correct. Surprise. We just jump straight to the next scene. Okay, so anyways, after they do this hike, they get to, it's kind of supposed to be like that little moment where they hit the record store, I think, in the game, right? Cat, I'm sorry. It scared me too. I wasn't ready. The stone stacking moment, yeah, I completely passed that. I really like this sounds stupid, but the bruising on Joel's knuckles, that like a little reminder again of how violent Joel can be, that we saw his knuckles bleeding. They're super bruised. He's trying to cool them off and clean them in the cool water. And then he stacks the stones, which is, it's just like a little, like, I don't know. It's just a little peaceful moment, but people always do that, right? In the wild, like in the wilderness when they're on hikes and stuff. You're not supposed to, but they do. And that's almost felt like it could have been like a little, just either he's just trying to be calm, or maybe he was doing something just to kind of, for tests, right? Like just a little, because you're not going to have a tombstone of any sort. You're not going to have any type of representation of her life, which is upsetting. I need to hydrate more. If I watch more reactions to this episode, too many tears. Oh my gosh. I watched it twice and I was both times. Even the second time I watched it, I was like, I know what's happening. We're fine. And I was like, no, I was still crying. The stone stacking was bad until you told me about it. That's why I never had. Yeah, you're not supposed to stack stones. I guess it messes with the natural wildlife. Like, I think it's like specifically like insects and lizards and stuff like that. It messes with their habitat. I kind of like it's sort of showing Ellie's exposure to the wild, even if, well, she's so happy. Remember how happy she was to leave? Because she's just grew up in a QZ, right? In Fedra school. And so, like, she hasn't been out in the wild. So I like this, too. Stone stacking is bad. You're not supposed to do it. That's correct. I don't know the full details about it. But you're not supposed to do it. I love how, like, this is what we're talking about. Yeah. So says sheriffs and, not sheriffs, what are they called? The people at, like, wildlife places? I can't think of their names. Yeah. Okay, so they end up going to this store, right, to gather some supplies. I like this scene. Okay, hold on. I don't want to say I like this scene. I like the idea of them, like, gathering stuff from empty buildings. Like, Joel seems like he has some setups outside the quarantine zone where he might have some resources stashed away, or at least know of them, right? And it's all going to be along the way to Bill's house, which makes sense because we find out that they've been visiting park rangers. Thank you. That was the word. Not sheriffs. Park rangers. They'll tell you not to do it. But yeah, this kind of reminded me of the scene where they go into that record store for the first time, right? And she gets to talk about how much she likes music. I've only stacked sticks that and not stones. This is the episode that made you love Bella as Ellie. That's really interesting to me. Okay, so I want to talk about, sorry, I already showed you the screen. I want to talk about the moment where she goes into the hidden, like, cellar area to gather some supplies. Or to, I don't know, snoop around. And we have that crushed stalker. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to think of this moment. The thing about stone stacking is the idea that you should leave nature the way you found it when you visit. Yeah, we're still on the stone stacking. I'm going to change the picture to scare you guys out of the stone stacking. We're going to talk about this guy, okay? We're here. This is where we're at, okay? Large, full screen. I forgot to take a picture of the Mortal Kombat thing. Let's talk about this with the stalker listening. What do you guys? Why do you guys think they changed it to Mortal Kombat instead of just using their own made-up video game? Angel Knives, right? Or I don't know if that's what the game was called, but Angel Knives was the main character. But nobody. I was hoping Joel was going to say video games. I don't know. I never liked those things, but nobody ever says that about Mortal Kombat 2, right? I think they changed it to Mortal Kombat to make it more recognizable. Yeah, like to make it feel like more real life. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. I love that game. I'd be excited to find that too. Maybe. Old mode phase. The close-up on this. Oh gosh. Like, I'm sorry it's such a big screen. But like seeing this like frozen, look at the way this is done. Look at the makeup on this. It's so crazy. Most popular game of its time. Was it? That makes sense. I can see that. Yeah, the detail in this is scary. I really like the molds growing out of his right eye. It totally freaks me out. The idea of that freaks me out. When she cuts into his forehead and it just being mold under there freaks me out. Like, this is one of those moments where you're just like, how much of this is human anymore? Like, what? And I think that's maybe why Ellie does that. Like, she's like, she cuts into his forehead, right? And you have that question. And it does bring me a little bit back to the game where try not to spoil, when she's talking to Sam. But, like, how much of them is still in there? And, like, if you literally cut into their scalp and don't, like, there's, like, hardly blood anymore, this thing's not human. It should have been Tekken 3 arcade machine in 2003 to be more accurate. Tekken. That's a good one, too. You're right. Tekken would have been it. HBO owns Mortal Kombat? Wait, are you serious? Is that why that happened? Wait, why would HBO own more? Because of, like, no. Do they have some type of... That would make sense, Steven. If there was some type of rights already, like, if they already have the rights to that, might as well use that. Okay, the stalker moment. I knew Ellie, it would be Ellie's first dispatch. I did not think that she was going to kill this thing. I thought that was dark. They took her innocence quicker than expected. Exactly, Xandra. So I thought it was so weird. So when she cuts into it, I was okay with that. I was like, yeah, I'd be kind of curious too. Like, that's kind of crazy. But she has this full out, here, I'll switch it so you guys don't have to look at it. Nope, I didn't take it. Did I not take it? No. She has this full out, like, rage in her face when I don't know if I like this Ellie. Well, like, I don't like this moment of Ellie. Or I'm going to see how it plays out. But it didn't feel like her. And I don't know. Oh, HBO owns Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers owns Mortal Kombat. Good connection, Rockefeller. It was definitely very detailed, and I love it. If this ever happens and the stalkers were after me, I would just end up dead straight up. I'm infected. Someone take my body out, please. Foreshadowing Ellie's darker side. That's what we were thinking. Maybe like to get like that transition into The Last of Us Part 2 to be a little bit more like you could follow along easier. But like her obsessions with guns too is like it's right on the edge of being too much for me. But I'm like I said, I'm willing to see it play out. I'm not mad about it, but I'm just like what is going on with Ellie? Like it's very different feeling. Maybe the cut was intended to show that they aren't... That's what I was thought too. Okay, so here's my whole thing. I think the other thing they're setting up for is how mad Ellie is about Riley. Oh, yeah, Diaz. What Diaz just said there. Because, so we see this moment, right? And she hates the infected. But we see a bit of compassion from her when they're talking about... And I have a clip here. But when they're talking about them killing innocent people because they don't have enough space at the quarantine zone. So she's not evil. Like she doesn't want people to die. She doesn't like have like a killing urge. But I think there is some type of, because Riley only died like, sorry, that was total spoiler. I'm so sorry. Her like thing with Riley only happened. That's so bad. Like a couple of months ago, right? So we found her. It was only like 2 or 3 weeks when she was with Marlene, and then we've probably been traveling with Joel and / Tess at one point for like a month. I think she's been extremely sheltered and has a disoriented feelings and views on the outside world, including the infected. Yeah, and I'm like, I can follow this character. Like it's not like unbelievable to me that somebody would have this anger towards the infected. It's just so different from the game, in my opinion. She did feel a little psychopath. Yeah, in the scene, not gonna lie. It was intense, right? Like there was no hesitation, no regret, like toying with it even a little bit. Like that's a little psychotic, a little bit. So, spoiler, I'm so sorry. We can fix that in post if it's not fine. Yeah, the constant asking for guns is a bit overdone. I think they are just building up the moment Joel starts trusting her. Yeah, but like I don't think we needed this like guns thing like all the time to get that. But again, I'm willing to see how it plays out. Like maybe like you're saying, like they're trying to just repeat over and over again. Like Joel doesn't trust her. He definitely doesn't trust her with a weapon. Like, and we'll see what comes of that later on down the road. I think because she's already been attacked by infected and lost a good friend, she needs to defend herself by any means necessary, similar to mugging victims, buying guns or knives of today. Yeah. I'm going to switch screens so we don't have to look at that guy's face anymore. Sorry. I think the Joel trusts her moment would have kept its higher impact for the game if she didn't sneak a gun into her bag this early. That's later in the set. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. But we've all seen this episode, but that's... Yeah, I don't know. I know I'm worrisome. I'm a little concerned about where they're taking Ellie on this like more vengeful path with like the gun obsession and the violence towards the infected obsession. But like I said, I'm not mad yet. So I will see how it's going to play out. I'm worried. Right? I personally want to go slicing infected open. I'd be calling Joel so quick. Well, that's another thing, right? So that's a really good point, Xandra. I think it's important to note how brave Ellie is. Like, she's not scared of things. And that was, like, perfect proof. Like, I'd be the same way, right? I'd be like, Joel, I wouldn't even go down there. Like, I wouldn't have descended into that, like, area, that basement area in the first place. But her being 14, right? 14 years old, doesn't care about, like, the dark doesn't bother her. Being alone doesn't bother her. The infected don't bother her. Like, she's mad at the world. The only thing I wish the show had was that look on fresh infected faces trying to fight the urge to eat folks. Like, you mean from, like, the runners? Thanks for the swap, Cat. It's kind of fun that, like, we have a few of those concerns about our character direction, but from a cinematic perspective, they're all presenting it so well. Right, so, like, if I didn't play the game, I'd be like, oh, this Ellie girl, she's kind of crazy, but it's kind of cool and interesting. But knowing a different Ellie, I'm like, what are they doing here? We'll see. She asked about it being hard to kill them, knowing they were people in the second episode. Right. I think she is wrangling with her bad feelings towards the infected, causing them to become more dehumanized. I think you're right. I think that's why we got that cut at the beginning, right? Like, you cut into its forehead, it's not even bleeding, really. Like, when the bodies are 60% fungus, like, makes for a good first kill. Right? Like, you're kind of just like, it's not real good, really human. teenagers be crazy brave and stupid at the same time. It's true. We played the quarry. Yeah, in the game, they look like they're trying to fight it. Like, they have that, like, I think it was Miz that brought it to my attention because I noticed that it sounds like they were, like, when they're idle, like, it sounds like they're crying. And she's like, they totally are crying because they're fighting, like, with this infection that they have. And I was like, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Regardless if it's similar to the game or not, take that out of the equation. Is still a good show. Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, like if I didn't have her in the past, I'd be like, oh, this girl's kind of crazy. She's cool, but I like to watch what's happening. This is wild. Like I said, when you have such a love for a character, you just want to make sure they take care of it. Like they take care of that character. And I don't want them to ruin the essence of Ellie, but I don't think they've done that yet. But I'm just hesitant. I'll just be keeping an eye on it. See where they go with it. One thing I am noticing, a lot less infected in the show than the game. This episode, so I would say, I think what they're doing with this so far is you're kind of getting both. Like, but you're not getting both in one episode. I think last episode with Tess and the like horde of infected, we got a ton, right? Like we literally had a horde of infected. We learned a lot more about them, and it was like another reason why they might have changed up Fedra attacking them and instead putting the infected in, because like we wanted to see more of them. We want to know more about them. Let's fill this episode with infected. And this one, like you said, hardly any infected. So I think it's a nice contrast, though. I like going back and forth with that because this game is way more than just about the infected. This is about life. Like that's why it starts 20 years later, right? It's so much more than just that. Thinking we'll get the fun, happy-go-lucky Ellie when we get the episode covering the DLC. Oh, that's a good point, Brian. Like, we'll see a little bit more innocent young Ellie there, even though literally it's only a couple months back. But, like, it's one of those things, like, a moment changes a person. Okay, I kind of like that idea. If that's Ellie's first kill, then what will... Yeah, I don't know. Well, that's Ellie's first kill. But she's not killed, in her mind, in my opinion, a person yet. Or she hasn't. She hasn't killed a human. Like, that's how she's keeping it more innocent in a way. The people are still in there, especially in early stages, I reckon. They're just cordyceps drugged up and controlled. Oh, I hate thinking about that. I think past a point, so I think runners definitely. I think when you start hitting like the stalker stage, you get little bit more, like there is a little bit of human in you, but I think it's more like almost like an animalistic kind of takes over. Like they're very like almost like little hunters. They just like different things are taking over, and I think there's a lot less emotion. Whereas with runners, I feel like there's still emotion, and then like that slowly, more and more of you gets taken over, and you no longer have it. That's what I think. Yeah, first human kill. Not sure about the first overall kill. It is a good contrast. Yeah. First infected kill, then what about with... I don't think that is her first kill. It didn't feel like it, did it? Maybe we'll see... maybe she... No, it's not. Because she would... There's a good chance she probably maybe took some out in the past when she got her bite. Right? Yes. Correct, Saint. Yep, I agree. She had to get away from the one that bit her in the first place. Very good point. Very good point. So that's right. Okay. So I'm going to move forward a little bit. Dancing around that. It's so challenging. Like I can edit it out in post, but I can't do it here, so I have to be careful. We get two scenes in this where Ellie talks about the sky or space or spaceships or that I like those moments. She gets really excited about the idea of space. And I know this is just an airplane, but she's so excited. She's like, you've been in the sky. And I think that was really cute. I like that. I just wanted to do a quick mention on that. Stalkers feel like they're more instinct-based before becoming blind. Yes. And use echolocation. I agree, that girl. You worded that much better than I did. I think they're getting us prepared for the DLC. Agreed. I think I can't wait for that episode. I hope it comes a little sooner than later, because it'll help me rationalize like Ellie's emotions now. Get on them dancing shoes. I know. Stalker movement in the game can also kind of be explained by the eye already being unusable, loss of depth perception. Yeah, scary stuff. I honestly, that one scene, I don't even want to go back to the slide before, but the way it just keeps eye contact on Ellie the whole time, so uncomfortable. Like, they did a good job there. Like, I don't like it. I never liked I don't think anybody likes stalkers. Like, it's fun in a scary way, but like if they were real, oh, that is terrifying. I think someone else killed the zombie that bit her. What are you doing, Rockefeller? The eye contact was extremely uncomfortable. Yes. And it was just the one eye. Oh, the acting in this is so good. Even from Stalker Guy. For his short time on screen. Very good. She didn't waver. No. Oh, I don't think of so because of how not scared she was of the one in the previous image. Yeah. Depth perception problems that I'm constantly running into things. She is crazy motivated, clever, and curious in the game. Any glimpse of those traits coming through in the show is very welcome. True. We never saw Riley. Yeah. So we're trying our best not to spoil future things in the game. But I've played it. I think most of the people here have played it, so you're probably fine, Tom. But you're right. We never saw that. I'm wondering if we're gonna see it in this. I don't want to. I'm gonna be honest. When I finished the DLC, that was the first thing I said. I was like, I'm so glad I don't have to be there when that happens. I didn't want to see it. I think Left Behind will be completely different. Just like this episode, I can see some character traits that need giving for better and moments that will make them look better in a different way. Yeah, I'm for some changes there too, for sure. Okay, let's keep moving forward. Oh, this one I thought was kind of fun. I like how Ellie asks these questions, and I like how we learned that Fedra isn't really, like, their schooling obviously is very controlled. You don't get full information. It's not a real good way to learn, right? Like, it's a very controlled syllabus, if you will. So I like how she doesn't know these things, and I like how when she asks Joel, then we get to learn. The food supply thing, I don't know why it didn't cross my mind, but like, this answers questions I didn't know I had. I always assumed it happened with one, and then it just spread, right? Like, one got in contact with this person, and then it spread and spread and spread and spread. But no, I like this idea because then it brings me back to the old woman, the neighbor from the first episode. Sorry, I'm talking about that this infection came from flour in the food supply. Because I just realized how much they talked. Like, we mentioned this when we were watching the episode, but she's having like biscuits and gravy for breakfast time or whatever, right? This old woman's being fed, which you mix with flour, and the biscuits, of course, have flour in them. And then we see her later, like, she's eating oatmeal, and the caretaker or the family member or whatever is making cookies. Like, that house is constantly eating stuff with flour in it. And so I thought, and like, this was Sarah's concern, that she got infected from the hospital. Remember, she's like, oh, well, we don't go to the hospital. We're not infected, right? We're not infected. But it wasn't. It was probably from the food she was eating, which is scary because if you just were eating the wrong thing for too long, this could have happened. Ellie learns about airplanes from the previous slide too. Yes, she does. Little additional background. The timeline Joel gives made a lot of sense. Oh, for everybody getting infected? Yes. Was waiting for Ellie to mention space when talking about the airplane. They waited till the car, which was cute. I like that because it has all the buttons and stuff. We'll talk about that. This food supply being the vector explains how it could hit the entire world almost simultaneously. Exactly. It was a great way to explain it. It feels really plausible. Exactly. And that's why it was like, oh, all of a sudden your neighbor's infected, but then why is everybody else infected too? And like, why is a plane crashing down? They were nowhere near this area. It's like, oh no, like it was in the, that's scary. It had something to do with the flour. And it also makes sense, right? That you'd have these type of molds or fungus that could possibly adapt and then change and then grow in that. Yes, thank goodness they didn't eat pancakes for best breakfast and biscuits from the neighbors. Uh, the show does seem to be propaganda for the gluten-free industry. So much anti-flour noise. What? I love it. Why wouldn't cooking kill it? That's a great question. However, this is fictional, so we're gonna bypass that one. I don't know. I guess okay. Well, so I'm personally making the connection that she became infected from the flour, like from something that they were making in the house, right? But when we go back to, was it Jakarta? With the scientist, the doctor, and the professor talking about it, it started in a factory where they were making or producing that flour. So with that, did they get it from eating it, or did it happen from maybe inhaling it a lot, or I don't know. I made the jump to say that's how the neighbor got it. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Above 94 degrees grows it. I'm assuming they are using the heat as a catalyst instead of a deterrent. Okay. There was a newspaper article in the game about crops being contaminated. It wasn't until this episode and the second episode that it connected in my brain on that's how it spread. Okay, so even in the game, this was kind of their reasoning behind it, even though it wasn't fully explained or highlighted. I like that. The heat theory also makes the human body a pretty good host. That's true. We use raw flour to coat things all the time. Plus, it could be inhaled before. That's what I was thinking too. That's true. There are reasons that you sometimes deal with raw flour. But like when people really cook with raw flour, let's forget the whole spores idea. But even like when you're cooking a lot with flour or making breads, you're constantly throwing like flour, like down on the, or if you're working in a factory, forget it. But you're constantly throwing it down on a table. So there's a really good chance that you're inhaling raw flour a good amount, which might be enough to get that growing. I thought this was a premiere. No, this is a stream. We're going to talk about it live today. So that's why we could talk with you guys. We were talking about 375 degrees. Yeah. So, no, I agree, Drew. That doesn't sound very realistic. Totally agree with that. But there are other means, right? Let's keep going. Okay, so this was the moment I was talking about where we saw this like darker side of Ellie, right? She's clearly hates the infected. She has no remorse about killing infected. But I like here, this seemed to bother her, and I'm glad we saw a little bit of heart from Ellie. She was bothered by them slaughtering the people that couldn't go into the quarantine zone just because there was too many people. So I like that we saw this side because I was a little concerned they were making her, I don't want to say evil, but they were making her very dark. So I'm fine with her like kind of having this hatred towards infected and being a little bit more compassionate towards humans. Right? The fungi probably mutated to where it's heat resistant. That's scary. Plus, it's impossible to not taste the raw cookie dough. Tom Lee, that's you are 100% right. Let's be honest. Is this your first time watching, or are you done watching? And so I'm not watching this live. I've watched it twice. This is more of a review, not a reaction video. So I can't do that because HBO would not like that. Raw cookie dough is my comfort food. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I have notes here too that I want to make sure I covered. Yes. Okay. Anyways, so that was my thought. Also, I like the transition here. It was really sad though. Like you see the clothing of the woman's dress and the baby's blanket, and they're here, which means Bill would have died if he would have went with Fedra here. Crazy. Can we talk about Bill and Frank, please? We're getting there. Soon. It's okay to talk about spoilers then. From this episode, absolutely. And then we'll, a lot of people here have, in fact, played the games, including myself. But I'm still trying to tiptoe around future stuff in the game to not ruin this series for people who haven't played it. So if we're going to talk about the game, let's try our best to keep it up till this point in the show. I always wonder if Ellie considered herself to be closer to the infected than uninfected due to her being immune. So she feels sorry. You know, Dan, when I rewatched that scene and I grabbed the little clip from it, I watched Ellie's facial expressions really closely there because I wanted to see how she felt when she stabbed it in the frickin' head. Sorry, that was so brutal. I thought she might, because it crossed my mind that she might have killed it to kind of put it out of its misery. It's trapped. It's a person infected. But no, there was nothing in her face or in her eyes that showed any type of like sadness or concern. Like she was just like, I'm taking this out because I hate it. Like it was like that. It was evil. It was dark. Patience is a virtue. Yes. So we could talk about the HBO series 100%. Like, but I'm just, spoilers with the game, let's just be careful about. I like this part because you actually get to see the Fedra markings, and I learned from you lovely folks that this is actually what they do when evacuating an area. They put the X to say that house is checked and empty, and then they have like different, and this is in the game all the time too, which is cool because we see these symbols and these empty houses and homes throughout the entire game, and I really like seeing how these places were evacuated, even though it was only a little bit. But yeah, they in the different segments of that X mark, they will put words or symbols to let other people know how many people were found in the home. I think how many people might have been injured or dead. Other hazardous things like rats or whatever. So it was really cool. I like that this moment was here. I feel like Ellie and the Tom Lee, what is that? Mentality. She must wipe out all infected from the face. Maybe I could see her having that attitude right now. Bill is so awesome. Come get me, you F. Shows how he made the town his own. He didn't steal it. He lived there and he just stayed. Yes. Okay, so Bill is like a doomsday prepper, right? And I love this because it's like one of those things where it's like this guy people would have made fun of. Like they would have made fun of Bill all the time, right? Like in like, and people do. Like people make fun of doomsday preppers all the time. But holy cow, did it turn out for him to be the best thing he could have done. I love his whole area. I love like every little thing that was in his like hidden room here. It's just like there's so much detail in everything they picked to put on here. The great set design. I like saying the X thing since it's something we could spot in quite a few places in the quarantine zone, but also yes, exactly. Expect red X's on the door instead of the white, right? Yeah, so oh gosh, Bill's introduction was great. Very stubborn, very smart. But yeah, so he has this crazy arsenal and just so much supplies to last him forever. And then, like you said, he just takes the town and makes it his own. I love how he goes to a Home Depot first too. Like so smart. But it's not even that like, so he's doing things that I would never know how to do, right? Like he had a plan. Like he knew what to do, how to get gas, how to deal with electricity, how to get foods and how to plant crops and like everything. And it's because of all this planning and prepping he did way before any of this has ever happened, right? Like I don't want people, like it's one of those things where we shouldn't look over the fact that it's not like he learned how to do this stuff while he was alone. He already knew how to do this stuff because he was scared something bad was going to happen. What's the difference between, in this episode, so much best. This episode was so different than the show. We meet Bill. Bill's alive in the game. He helps us a little bit get through his town and try to get some supplies. But you're not going to play the game, right? I don't want to spoil it. Frank does die, but we didn't get to meet Frank in the game at all. Frank was already dead, and he had actually committed suicide. Was taken with the town. Definitely had Ron Swanson vibes. He did have a little bit of Rob Swanson vibes. I think he shook that character real quick for me. At first, I was like a lot of people were mentioning, like, I can only see Rob Swanson. And then or Ron Swanson, sorry. And then I was like, dude, no, he's playing a different character here. This is good. This is really good. Shedding that image quick, exactly. I like the parallel of the Doomsday Prepper. I loved it. It would have been effed if it was a dragon or vampire apocalypse, though. That's true. I don't know. Maybe he has some silver bullets in there. We don't know. The background music that did it and the montage was over, yeah. I love Bill's backstory. I felt like it was right on from the little comments he made about Fredjar when Frank was introduced to the little traps. The traps. I'm so glad they had these traps in here, speaking of. The traps were so good. I loved him. I love seeing him make the traps. I love just like, you get like this history and info of like how Bill's mind works, and it's so fun. And watching that first infected cross his trap, like they're able in this show to make these really funny moments out of things that shouldn't be funny, right? Like this man, it's post-apocalypse and he's trying to survive, but he's just outsmarted them so much that it's literally just entertainment at this point, and I just love it. You liked it better than the game's version. I don't know, I haven't listened to the podcast and I haven't heard anything that Neil Druckmann said, but I very much felt like this story was something that they wanted to rewrite, and like, dude, like they're just like, man, I hate the way we ended it with Bill and Frank. I want to fix this. And they're like, this is our chance to fix their story. This is a chance to do justice by Bill. And it's just, it felt really good. You know how like when something terrible happens in a movie and like you watch it for the second time, you're like, gosh, I just wish it would change this one part so I didn't have to see this again. It felt like that. Like finally, like that was answered for us and we didn't have to relive that. And it was like, they fixed it. They fixed it for us. I loved it. It was really sweet. I didn't like the end of their story though. In this, you're not a fan of Bill's ending in this, in the show or in the game? He took Home Alone to an extreme level. He did. Anyways, I thought this was great. The like, it doesn't get old. This is right after we watched the security camera that he has shoot the infected from his trap. I loved that moment. Okay. Then we meet Frank. We knew we were going to meet Frank, which was really, really cool. I don't think they gave anything away, letting us know that we were in fact going to see Frank. I think it just made us all really excited. The way they meet, the conversation they have there. I would say if I didn't play the game and didn't know who Frank was in the game, I was a little, I feel like, I don't know if others thought this, but I think that the way Frank played the beginning of this felt like you couldn't trust him. There felt like moments where he might have been taking advantage of Bill and his hospitality, his food, everything. And I was hoping, I was like, they wouldn't do that to Frank's character, would they? They wouldn't change his character like that. I'm really glad they didn't. But I don't know. If somebody hasn't played the game and when you saw this, were you a little wary of Frank at first? I'm glad they decided to rewrite. Yeah, cheat. I quite like the portrayal in the game as it shows a gay couple not fall in love and live happily ever after they fought and ended up hating each other. I found that in the game it was still like a love story, but it just had more of a different type of tragedy at the end. I don't know. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit, but the only thing I will say, I love this episode and I thought it was really sweet in many, many places. But what I didn't like is it completely changes Joel didn't get an interaction. Ellie didn't get an interaction with Bill at all. And I really liked that. I liked their interaction in the game. I thought it was like Ellie's feistiness and like Bill's stubbornness. And I really liked that. I think that added a lot to learn more about Ellie's character. And then we'll get to this part, but Drew mentioned this as well. Bill gives Joel completely different advice in the game than he does here. Completely, like flipped, like 180. the needle is definitely infected, right? Yeah, it does actually do something that's painful to the skin. Maybe it's not a needle. Maybe it's some type of electrical impulse of some sort. The infected scanners seem to have a small needle. Yeah, I mean, the circle's definitely there. I don't know what actually... At this point, though, it's like... Are you really worried about getting... Well, I mean, yeah, I guess an infection from a cut or a needle, but... The jokes from Frank, I don't know why I took so long to answer. I couldn't come up with anything. But you like, right, you're stuck in a hole. You hear this like person, you're like, you can't get out. You hear a person with a gun, and you're like, if I say I have a gun, will that be better? Because then he might not just shoot me. Or will he shoot me because I have a gun? Like, I could totally, like, without them talking about the argument Frank probably had in his head about what to say there, I think they did that really well. With just his, like, yeah, I didn't know. I couldn't come up with anything. Yeah, Billy, I squished their names together. Bill and Ellie banter was top notch, right? And, like, yeah, I missed that. I wanted to see them meet but we did get a little bit of that with past Joel and Bill meeting. So I did like their headbutting and their banter or whatever. I missed it from Ellie. Okay, so I just like this scene too because I don't know if you guys, I just want to mention this because I heard, we mentioned it in chat when we were watching this, and then I heard somebody else like tweet about it. Most likely, I think Bill got access to this device probably from a stupid Fedra infected agent that went into one of his traps. So I'm not mad that he has this here. I think it's very likely he would have come across something like that by the amount of people that he can just take out that try to get into his place, right? The advice flip from Bill to Joel here definitely was amazing. Really shows how Frank permanently changed Bill's worldview. Yeah, I don't know. Yes, I like this Bill. I like how he has a good, happy ending. I don't know if I like that they changed completely the advice he gives to Joel, just because they keep setting up these like perfect moments where, like, without spoiling, in the game at the end, I feel like they left it up to the player to kind of be like, was that the right thing to do? But with this, they're setting it up for it to be like, you don't get to have that discussion. Like, it kind of answers it multiple times throughout this. So I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I want some Arby's dinner tonight. You can't get free food here. This isn't an Arby's. He's like, Arby's was a restaurant. You didn't get free food there. When we get to the scene, I said, oh, it's Frank, my family member who doesn't know much about the game, looked at me and went, who the hell is Frank, without missing a beat? I said he was my partner. Aw. I also appreciate Tess being soft and friendly. And went, oh, yeah, okay, we'll get there too. I think they cut the idea for Bill and Joel on screen together as the best dad energy from Pedro and Nick would break the screens of viewers. None of the Last of Us series has a happy ending. Why do it now? I was going to argue that point and be like, there's some happy moments. There's happy moments. Are there happy endings? I don't know if there really are. That might be a legit answer there. Or statement. Okay. I know this chat always goes to Tess. It always goes back to Tess. Okay. So this dinner scene, the meal that he cooks, the wine that he serves, I really like this because it's so subtle with Nick's acting here, and I don't know Frank's real name, but both of these guys, they have really good acting here, just in their facial expressions, and you can really feel that Bill's trying to like figure Frank out a bit, but he breaks a little bit trying to be this tough guy when he he enjoys that Frank appreciated his meal. And not just like, oh, I was so hungry, thanks for the food. He appreciated the little efforts and the little details that most people wouldn't notice in the meal. And that made him, like, this is like the closest thing we get to like a smile at the beginning from Bill. And I like that. I think that was really good. And it's really cute. Cordyceps get a happy ending? Rabbit paired with Beaujolais wine. I don't know if that's how you say it, but classy wine pour. Yeah, right? Like, so Bill, very subtly, Bill is showing these traits. I think that Frank is like, you know, like Frank's putting it together right now that Bill might be gay, I think, right? And I thought it was cute. I thought these moments were subtle and not over the top, and I just liked them. It was really sweet. So I have to talk about this. I put this in here. I didn't know if I actually wanted to say this, but I laughed the second time I saw this because it just clicked in my head. So obviously after this moment, we get the more intimate moment with them when they're doing stuff in the bedroom. But then literally the next line is Frank saying, F you, which is funny because the actions that previously just happened was just that. So I don't know if that's intentional. I found it funny. I don't know. I like the contrast there, but also like, you know, it was a good transition. P.S. I'm not gay. I'm just a drinker. Why do you know so much about wine? This is sensitive, but I don't like gay stuff in movies or show in general. I think it's unnecessarily self-insert sometimes. But the story of Bill and Frank in the show is just perfect, makes sense, and realistic. So emotional. I'm so invested. Very good storytelling. Yeah, like I feel like I'm not offended by it in any way. I'm not uncomfortable about it in any way. I like the amount that they showed. I thought Bill's little I think it was really interesting to learn that Bill lived a life before this that it was probably a lie. He became a doomsday prepper or whatever, but also you could tell he wasn't comfortable maybe with who he was, and he never actually opened up to being gay, or, you know, like he never had any other partners. And I thought that was a really special thing to learn about Bill. So like Frank is literally his one and only. And I thought his uncomfortable moment there in bed and everything was very, again, not over the top in acting, very I don't know. It felt very real. I liked it a lot. And it was just enough, right? Like I didn't need to see more than that. But I think what they put in there wasn't just for views. I think it was just very realistic. Your boyfriend pours wine like that? Oh my goodness, that's so fancy. The food pairings and the attention to how things were laid out certainly shows some personality traits. Absolutely. In the after episode podcast, the director explained that homosexuals have an eye for one another. They can spot a friendly from a mile away. That's really sweet. I think that was to show how much time they've spent together. What do you mean? Which was? I'm sorry. Cat ruining a tender, loving moment with profanity. They did that. I didn't do that. Yeah, Frank knew. And I love how he tests him too. Like he knows, but and then the piano moment, right? When they're playing the piano, I love how he's like, so what woman did you write that for? Like you wouldn't say that. You would say, who did you write that for? But he specifically is like, what woman did you write that for? As like his final test. Like, I'm pretty sure we've got something going here, but I got to make sure. And then he's like, there is no woman. He's like, I knew it. I like that. I thought that was good. Oh, the scene where they eat strawberries together. I have a clip on that. Anyways, okay, so 3 years later, I like how they're arguing. As dumb as this sounds, like, they've been together for 3 years. They're a couple. Everybody argues. I don't care how wonderful of a marriage or relationship you have. You're going to have moments of arguing because you care about each other and things just get heated and you're passionate about what you have to say, but you're passionate about this person, so you argue. And I think it's just like, yeah, this is just a normal relationship. So cool argument here. And he's lonely, right? You've got two different personalities. You have Frank, was a very social guy, it seems like, right? Like he had been with people before. He's discussing how much he wants to have friends. And then you have Bill, who was like literally like a hermit. So a normal argument to have. Like, it went from the bedroom scene to the swearing shows how much they spent together. Exactly. Yeah. You're right. Normal conversation in an apocalypse, right? That was another really cool thing. That's a good point, Chi. Like, imagine that. Like, the world's pretty much ended. Literally infected, like, there's a threat coming to your door every night. But you're going to have an argument about wanting to paint a house or mow the lawn, or it was really cute, relatable. They live in their own bubble. They like literally like live in their own place, that it's like a little oasis of what the world was. I think it's cool. The first sex scene, Bill's first time, is uncomfortable and awkward, but Bill makes him so... No, and it was like super... Like, it was just one of those moments where you're like, yeah, this is like a normal, like, first time for somebody. Even though it was like... I thought the moment was cool. How about which robot broke your heart as an alternative? It also shows the difference between the two. One is always pragmatic, and the other cares about little things that serves no survival purpose. Yeah, it's like the opposites attract thing. It's really sweet. Okay, I love this. We get like a double date, which is cute. So they brought Tess back for this episode, so I know a lot of people were really happy about that. It was really nice to see Tess healthy, not injured, not with a black eye. She's just so sweet here, and she's just... Like I said, there's like this little, they're in their own little bubble of just like a normal life, except for, of course, Bill's gun on the table. But everything besides that, it was just a double date, and I like this. I also really like what they're eating. So at this point, like, a lot of the food, I think, has shifted to veggies that they've probably been growing. So you, like, literally on Bill's plate, it's like, I think of carrots and a potato. So I just like little attention to details like that. But they still have all that wine. I laughed so hard when we get the lunch with all four of these characters. It was like a tea party in a pot. Well, and they make that joke, right? He's like, for what? We're gonna have like a tea party? And like, sure enough, we do have a tea party. Could tell who was social and who would rather be on their own bubble. Well, and this is really sweet too, because we learn like Frank and Tess are more like each other, and Bill and Joel are more like each other. And Bill and Joel, the parallels they draw between them, and the understanding that they draw between them was really sweet. And like, Joel and Tess completely understand the gun being on the table, right? Like, they're not like, dude, what a weird couple. Like, no, they get it. They totally get it. And I just like that understanding, even though Joel and Bill aren't friends, and like, really, they have that understanding. And they both appreciate the other for wanting to take care of their significant other. He did an amazing job. I agree, Nick Offerman. I swear they made Anna, Torv, and Pedro look younger than So I don't know if they made them look younger here, or they just have a different like makeup for in like the current episodes. But yes, they do. They look younger, happier, healthier. Very cool. Why did he steal the boat? So I took it at the beginning. I thought that was his boat, first off. But I thought he used it as like an extended trailer to put supplies in. So when he first hooked it up, he was like loading it with stuff, like a trailer. That's what I thought. Like, at first I thought he was going to go out into the water of some sort, but I think he was just using it like extra space to load things. Yeah, like what she'd say, it's supplies. If it weren't for Frank and Tess, this relationship would never be. It's such a good writing turn from the game. Yeah, I like this too. I like the double date thing. Okay. And I really liked how here we learned about the music codes, and it was from Frank's idea. And now thinking back, it makes you appreciate the first episode a little bit more, because we know that the song that plays at the end, which isn't, I can't remember what 80s song it was, but it did play an 80s song at the end, was actually an automated system going up, and that's because it was weeks after Bill and Frank's passing, and he didn't reset to that alarm. So that's so cool. I love how we got to learn about that. I didn't think about that again, and I wasn't like, what was the deal with that radio thing? But if I would have rewatched this show and got to that part, I was like, oh, they never really explained that. But sure enough, they did. So they're kind of like closing the book on all these like questions again that I didn't know I had. Frank's not just a pretty face. Hello from Costa Rica. I love your playthroughs and reactions. Hey, Fabs. Thanks for joining and for the kind words. I'm assuming this is 17 years ago, 2006, 3 years after the outbreak when... Yeah, so Bill was alone for like 3 years alone, right? Then he met Frank, and then it was 3 years later. And then I think they end up being together like 17 years, if I remember correctly. The music code isn't in the game. Nope. There's a lot of differences between that. Like, in fact, Joel isn't even like openly looking for his brother in the game at the beginning. Okay. So, yeah, I thought that was cute. Also, I don't know. I want to double check, but Tess is holding, I think, clothes. Like, Frank gave her clothes. Like, and she's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, we'll just trade. We'll go back and forth. I'm not 100%. I think the clothes that she's holding are the clothes that she's wearing from the game and in the previous episode. Like, that red, like, button up. Pretty face, you mean pretty body. Why not both? But yeah, I don't know if that was a thing. I saw her like putting like the clothes in her backpack. It kind of reminded me of her character clothes. I have it, guys. It's here. The acting here was so good. I was really worried. I actually freaked out a second because as soon as Frank said, because when he surprised Bill in this moment that he grew strawberries, and he's like, where did you get them? And he's like, I traded one of your guns to Joel. And I was like, oh no, I don't want this to break out into another fight or whatever. And I'm so happy it didn't. And it was such a sweet moment. And then I love how, because of the position Bill has put himself in, guns, he has so many guns. Like, trading a handgun for the chance to taste a strawberry again was so worth it to him. And this is something that Frank's been working on for a while, right? Like, he got the seeds, he planted them, he kind of hid his little plot somewhere else so he could surprise them with the actual final product. So sweet. So sweet. What up, nerds? Hey, babe. Yeah, I was alarmed too, Kat, but that's when you first get concrete confirmations Bill's worldview is shifting. Very good point. Yeah. So here, instead of him being mad that he sold the gun, he's like, this is the sweetest thing ever. Both Frank being sweet and the strawberry sweet. Could you imagine not having a strawberry for like over 10 years now, I think, at this point, and how great that would be? I heard something about how the mushroom apocalypse in the show happened a few months before the Return of the King came out in cinemas. Must have sucked not to see the end of Sauron in the That's the real tragedy, not knowing the end of Lord of the Rings. Good thing they could probably track down a book somewhere. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this was a tough scene. And again, this is one of those moments, it was just like, not a lot was really gained from this, except for like, we learned a little bit about Bill's shift, like Cheat was saying, on his worldview change. But it's just sweet. It's just a couple, and it was just cute, and it was like the little things in life making them so happy. And it was such a good moment. Great acting. Bravo here. I cried twice. It's the music from Arrival. That's what did it. Right? Okay. Joel warns them of a raid. You know, he's like, you need to be careful. I like that too. Like, I like how that's Joel's way of showing that he cares. When he has that little brief conversation with Bill at the end of their dinner date, and he says, you know, they're going to come. There's going to be people come. They're going to come at night. They're going to, you know, come to your fence, pretty much. It sounded like almost a threat from Joel, but it wasn't. That was showing that he did care. I like that scene. And then, of course, we get to see that actually happening. This is one of those moments where we get to see how terrible humanity is at this point. Again, it's not just infected. It's a bunch of terrible people, raiders. So we were kind of joking in chat a bit about Bill running out in the middle of the frickin' street here. Like, what are you doing? Take cover. And I don't think that was overlooked at all, because obviously Frank's taking cover. Like, that's what his character is doing. Why the heck is Bill out in the middle of the open? And I think this is literally just one of those things where this man is here. He's going to stand right in between the danger and the person he loves. Like, literally standing in front of him. He's not hiding. He's not doing anything. Like, he's there to protect. This is Bill's personality. This is Bill's turf. This is Bill's love. He's literally the shield to protect them. I made my sister scared because I was crying and I don't cry. Oh. Yeah, I feel conflicted because I feel it strayed so much from the game, but I cried twice and and the direction they chose was excellent even though it was different. Agreed. Punished. I explained that well. Having never played the game, I can take this for what it is. I really liked this. I really liked this. Is it different? Absolutely, it was different. But I like it. I like the rewrite here. It made me able to close the book on Bill and Frank and not hate their story. Bill never played The Division. That's a no-no. Like with the Halo show, I was all over it because I'm a huge Halo person, but this is just a TV show to me and it's great. Yeah, and like I'm saying, like so much so far in this show that like I'll point out the differences and I don't really have a problem with them yet. A lot of the times I think they're better. Some of the times I just think they're interesting. This was one of the times where I think I enjoyed watching this more. I don't know if I like the very end change for the advice that he gives to Joel, but we'll get into that. That's a good way to look at it, Kat. Drawing fire to protect. Yeah. Terrible humanity from one viewpoint is just desperate people from another. Well, now I'm going to go cry again. I'm sorry, babe. I think this was to trick the audience into Bill would be killed and Frank would survive. This had me for a second. This did have me for a second too, Rockefeller. I'm fine with that little trickery right there. I don't think that's the only purpose for this, though. Like, he could have easily gotten shot behind cover. I think that it was intentional that Bill was out there in the open to show how much he's like, no, like, this is my place. This is my family. The aftermath of the scene, the next time we skip, was an interesting juxtaposition, for sure. So that's why I do have this one. This is, again, just good character writing. I love how Bill's in this moment. He's not screaming. He's not upset about what happened. He's like, all right, as a prepper, or as he put it, a survivalist, I have this plan. Like, he is already, and this moment makes you realize what happens after their passing, why everything was so organized and ready to go for Joel. This right here. So he's like, okay, this is what you do, Frank. You need to call Joel. You leave the gas on. He has all these steps on what needs to happen after his passing. Like, he's ready to go. And I just love how Frank's calm in this moment. He's like, nope. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Tell me what's going to happen. But really, Frank's like, you're not going. You're not dying here. It did scare me a little bit that they were going to flip that. Like, Frank's alive and Bill's the one that dies. Interesting take there. And then, oops. Yeah, okay. And then the next thing, like you said, when he's in the wheelchair, and then you hear him yelling for Bill's name. So we didn't need to see him recovering. We didn't need to see the struggle of that. It was just, I think it was one of those things like how much Bill will protect Frank and how ready he is almost to die. Like he's got everything figured out. I read somewhere that if this was a standalone short film with just a few additional story scenes, it would be Oscar worthy. Oh my gosh. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Really good misdirection. Mm-hmm. Misdirection, but not like something that made me angry, for sure. Nick's acting elevated this to the level of The Sopranos. Ooh. I was like, oh, well, this is it for Bill. Yeah, it had a lot of us worried. We're like, what the heck? Are they going to flip this? Survivalist, radical. Moose, don't be in here. If you haven't seen the show, don't go to a review on the show. Okay. This day age. I love how we got to live. I love how this whole episode was dedicated to them too. Like, we got to live their life. Like, we got to live their life with them. Like, we got to see that they had a full life. And sure, there were ups and downs like there is with everything, but it was just, I don't know. It was nice. It was nice to see it. I'm going to get teary-eyed. The art that's in this, I don't know if it was just me, but it really, really reminded me of Ellie's artwork in The Last of Us Part 2. And it was sad, but so in Part 2, you kind of see Ellie's sketches and stuff, and they get better. Like, you kind of see a couple, where she has some drawings of whomever, and then like she has later drawings and they're just really good and detailed. And with Frank, his get worse. Like, so you see some really good artwork of Bill on the walls and stuff, and then he's working on this one and he like can't even paint anymore. And it was sad, but I don't know, like an understanding kind of sad. Frank's art is all over and I love it. We also see another piece hanging in the bedroom in the very final scene. I think I have that one on here. Yeah. These kind of shows are now using fan service to create layers of misdirection depending on how well the audience knows the lore. Yeah, I like how they do that. They're like, oh, we know what you're thinking here. But yeah, anyways, so I just thought the paintings all over the place and that it kind of just brought me back to Ellie's paintings in part 2. I don't know if that was the intent. I feel like a lot of people would be painting at this time because it's not like you're going to sit around, watch TV or play video games, right? You got a lot of time on your hand. A lot of people are going to pick up painting. So I thought that was sweet. And their last day. So this whole thing killed me. The fact that we got to see their life together, their ups and their downs, and then it ended like it was just like insane. Made me think a lot of people are drawing that connection to the movie Up. And I can totally see that. Yeah. That freaking Pixar movies just made us all cry within the first like 10 minutes. It was awful. Frank's actor did the hardest part of the scene. It's such an emotional roller coaster, and I love his both of them. Both of their performance. So good. I have everything. So good. Anyways, this last day was really cute. I love how we didn't there wasn't a lot of talking here. I like how they just were kind of going through their normal day, except for, of course, it was a special day because they got married. You've never seen Up? Oh, just don't. No, it's really great, but the first will make you cry. Like the first 15 minutes. In 2003, there's not even a PS3 to play in The Last of Us in this apocalypse. You know what my kiddo brought up? So he made sure he played the first game before this came out because he wanted to make sure that he had experienced it. He tried to shoot the PS3s that are in the game. You can't shoot them. Not that it won't take damage. If you point your gun at the PS3 and pull the trigger, I didn't test it, but he said it won't shoot. Like it wouldn't shoot at it. You cannot destroy the PS3 in the post-apocalypse. Oh, it did kind of make it look like Bill was crying. I didn't see that, MH. That's a really good point. So, I don't really know what he's dying of here. I think it's cancer because they have a conversation where there's there wasn't even a real cure for this before. Why would there be a cure for it now? That could be a lot of things, to be fair. But I don't know. To me, it felt like cancer. It doesn't matter, right? It's not even important. Logan said that, cheat. I'm allergic to onions. Wow. I mentioned in Ragnarok how when dies, everyone has experienced a pet pass away. The Romeo and Juliet moment is something any person can relate to. Or, yes, is something any person can relate to. A lot of people guessed MS. MS can have different... I don't know a lot about it. But I know it can have a lot of different levels and it affects people differently. I always assumed the shakiness and stuff would be a lot more severe, but not necessarily. It could have been anything. The point is, it doesn't matter. He's dying and his quality of life is gone, right? That's all we need to know. The gun shoot-proof PS3 is a lesser-known feature of that console in real life. Okay. So yeah, I love how we get this happy day with them, but I hate it because I love it. I love the whole thing. But as you get the sun setting here made me so upset and sad, even though it was such a good moment because you're getting closer to night and you know what's going to happen at nighttime. You know their plan. And I didn't like watching it. I didn't like getting closer to the night. Yeah, I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it right now. It was really good. Really sweet. I'm glad they got married. We have, also I want to mention, I didn't take a picture, and I don't know if it's in this scene where he's dressed in the tux, but every other time you see Bill, he always has that holster on his leg. Every single time. And so, it's just one of those and other things like about his character. Like he's always going to be that guy. Always has the protection right next to him. Always ready for the worst as a survivalist would. I don't know if in the scene he has it, but I would have liked to see if it was there. Pretty sure cancer, leukemia is bone deteriorating disease, hence the wheelchair. That's kind of where I was thinking too. Yeah. I was wondering that too, Dan, where they got rings. I mean, there's a good chance that there's a store in this town that had rings, but it's kind of one of those things that, like, if there was like a jewelry store, you think that would have come up earlier in their life. Maybe they just fashioned something out of something from Home Depot. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I did question that too, but like, I at this point I'm like, who cares? I'm glad they got married. Probably pulled a scones off the wall and forged them himself. I don't know what that is. But yeah, like he could have gotten crafty with it, right? This dinner scene, their last dinner, I love how we have this, like, the beginning of this story and the end of the story, and they're so similar, but so much time has gone in between. So we had their first dinner meeting, and then we have their last dinner, and I'm pretty sure he cooks the same meal. It's the same wine. That's why Frank laughs, because it's the wine that they drank when they met. And the scene was just awfully sad, but beautiful. They hold lights or candles. Oh, I didn't know what that is. With an ah sound? Sconce? It's a Parks and Recs reference. Oh, nice. Might be his parents' ring. I got the impression it was their family home. Yeah, because of the piano and his mother's music and stuff. Yeah. That could be, for sure. Anyways, so we get the parallels of this dinner, and you guys know this that were there, but I immediately was like, I know this is dark, but I'm super surprised that Bill is letting Frank go through with this and not like taking his own life. And so when we find out that that is in fact what he planned, yes, that good writing. Like that wasn't, like, cause it's one of those things where you're just like, why would where is his will to live after something like that? You wouldn't have that. So beautiful writing, in my opinion. Kat, you accidentally foreshadowed the whole thing? What do you mean? First dinner is the same as the last dinner. Rabbit with, yeah, I know. It's so sweet. The dynamic between the first time they met and then the last time they get together is the same. I know. They sit in the same place. Except Bill's not on the opposite side of the table. Perfect, right? Their first meeting, they have this dinner, they have this wine, but you have them completely separate. And on their last dinner, of course, Bill is closer. So, really sweet. I love the juxtaposition of that. I love this conversation. I'm having a hard time getting through this. It's making me teary-eyed. This line I want to highlight so much because the game, it was a tragic suicide at the end. So, I just think that this was them just being like, we didn't like that tragic suicide. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix Bill and Frank's story for you guys. And I like this. I thought this was really sweet. I meant with what happens after you said you thought oh yeah, that part. Yeah, I foreshadowed the whole thing. Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying, Sheep. I just hope that the drugs were still good and in date. Otherwise, let's be honest, Dan. Bill knows what he's doing. Like, I feel like, so Bill somehow had other drugs of some sort from somewhere because he put that entire bag that Frank gave him into Frank's glass and somehow had way more to put in the wine bottle. So this isn't something, Bill doesn't mess up. Like, he plans things to a T. He knows if it's expired. He knows if it's not. Like, I don't feel like he'd mess anything up like this. So how he got them, I don't know. Again, doesn't matter. No, I don't think so. Probably from Joel or from the quarantine zone in some way. But, yeah. I just convinced myself that it was painless and they fell asleep. I know. I felt like Bill put the pills in the bottle and was hoping Frank wouldn't figure it out, so to avoid Frank feeling... Oh, for sure. For sure. I agree, Tom Lee. They nailed this episode. Absolutely. Bill. We love you, Bill. I'm glad they didn't show the result. Yes. When Ellie explicitly read Bill's warning to not go up there from the letter. Like, a lot of times that's an open invitation. Hey, come look. No, it was very classy, I guess, the way they handle that. When Joel first gets there, the first thing he does is try to get into that room. Like, he tries to get in that bedroom. We see him wheel Frank into that bedroom when they go to bed. And then we see Joel go to that bedroom and it's locked. And he's like, why is this locked, right? Glad he didn't bust it open. Completely different from the game, but I like what they did there. I think so too. P.S. Drugs don't expire. Drug company lies. They, so from my understanding, most drugs will just lose potency. Most won't, some I think do, but most won't lose, like they don't expire. They just lose potency. That from my understanding, but yeah. They did say that they were still making drugs like morphine in Atlanta. Yes, they did. Drugs are, I'm sure, the way that a lot of people are getting through their days in this era, for sure. I was hoping until the dinner that Joel would get on the radio and tell Frank and talk Frank out of it, and they would be like, why Bill's indebted to Joel. Oh, yeah, I didn't want Bill to, this sounds awful, but I didn't want Bill to live past. Watching this episode and seeing how, like, rough of a person Bill became in the game, I liked the changes he made in this, like Bill's character. Like, he actually became a softer person, and I didn't want him to revert back to his old ways and become a like, rough around the edges person again. So I liked how he went out with Frank. The letter from Bill's scene is why I think Bill's character is so realistic. You mean the letter right after this? Yeah, like I said, this whole episode, you see him prepping, right? He was shot in the stomach. He already had a plan. Everything was aligned, ready to go. Of course, after they die, everything's ready to go, all organized for Joel. So, like that. I can see that, but I don't think it would have worked. Frank was miserable. Bill might have been miserable after his passing. Yeah. The government are Nazis after all. They certainly drugged their soldiers. I love it. You think 9/11 was a hoax? Or you think the government are Nazis? He's like, the government is Nazis. He's like, well, it wasn't then. That was another. They add like such. They're so good about adding a little bit of humor into this in such a serious show. I love those moments. He strikes me as the kind of guy who can take anything right up until he'd be losing Frank. Right? Like, he can take his own death fine. Can't take Frank's death. Guys, I'm crying. I know, I'm getting teary-eyed. I like, try to get through it. Bella's reading. What happened? Her reading was so good. I have no idea how she didn't crack a smile there. I'd love to see the, like, if there were bloopers on that. I have no idea how she got through that. Okay, anyways, I thought this was really cool. I think when Joel and Ellie enter here, it's super, it's like, again, subtle, but I like how Ellie's like, she's like, what the heck? Because this is probably the first house she's ever seen, like, not ransacked and, like, taken apart, destroyed. Like, it's dusty, it's old. Like, there's obviously people who haven't been maintaining it, but people have been maintaining it for the last 17, 20 years or whatever. So this is probably her first real experience in a home that's actually a home. I like that little line. And Joel just, like, continues on trying to find Bill. But also we get some beautiful artwork on the left. We also see Frank drew himself on the bottom there. And I don't know. There's, like, a little kid's drawing, which I think was interesting. I think the drawing might actually be of giraffes. I'm not sure. The one here right behind that lamp, it's like a kid's drawing. You guys see it? I don't know if that's what it is, but it might be. It definitely might be. Yeah. Oh, you guys can't see the drawing of Frank because my face is in the way. Hold on. Let me fix that for you. There's Frank. You see him under there? Next to the plant. So, there's that. I'm so glad we didn't get the F out of my town line, because then Joel and Ellie could just come back if need be. Yeah. The government are all Nazis was such a fun line. It was fun. I've been up all night and I don't want to cry again and have red eyes for my... Oh, yo, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. The giraffe music was in this. It was the giraffe music during their day together, right? Ugh, it was so awful. There's music in the game that in a sensitive scene that they brought into this, and it was heartbreaking. More heartbreaking. A scounce? Is that how you guys say that? Whatever. No, I was talking about the other lamp. Let's wait on giraffe. Don't explain the giraffe thing. Oh, never mind. You ruined it. Anyways. That could have been Bill's. Oh my gosh, you think like that's not a child's drawing, that's Bill's? He's like, I'll do art with you today. Yeah. Anyways, so I have it in here because like I had to talk about it. Or get blown up by one of my traps. And then she just like looks up at Joel like, who was this dude? I would have died on this as an actress. I would have laughed so hard. Or as Joel, like hearing Bella do that line, I would have been on the ground laughing. Yeah, but let's try not to say what happens in the game. I know it's hard. I try not to do it. I've already messed up, but let's leave that open. But anyways, great line. The note was really good. I like how Ellie read it. I didn't realize how much I would. This whole thing was different, right? Like we got a car, we got a battery, we got supplies. Like Bill like gives us supplies in the game as well. What we didn't get is we didn't get our bloater. We didn't get our school scene. So we didn't get a lot of infected in this episode, right? And we didn't get the Ellie and Bill react or like confrontate or the way they act towards each other. So out of all three of those, the only one I really truly miss, honestly, is that Ellie didn't get to meet Bill. But I'm glad that Bill didn't become the heartbroken, sour guy that he ends up being in the game. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay that they changed it. I love this episode. I think it's super weird. Like this, so this is where I was talking about earlier, that we get a completely different type of advice from Bill. You know that Bill only wrote and Ellie added the extra. I don't know, man. I think he wrote it all. And no porn magazine. That's true. We didn't get the porn magazine, which was funny. But like in the game, they had to give us clues and hints that Bill and Frank were partners, like an actually like a gay couple. So that's like part of the fun that they had in showing, yes, that is their relationship. And in here, we obviously got that very easily, very clearly. So this line, I mentioned this at the beginning of this stream, but Bill gives Joel the advice that he used to hate everybody and he was fine watching everybody die or whatever. He hated the world, but he was wrong because there was one person worth saving. This, so much foreshadowing in this line. They've done this a couple of times so far in just these 3 episodes. I think almost in every single episode we have gotten a hint at you should save the one you love. no matter what the cost is. Like, we've gotten that in our faces quite bluntly, in my opinion. In the game, Bill gives him the opposite advice. He's like, she's not worth this. Like, what do you do? Like, I don't remember the exact, I should have went back and looked, but he doesn't think this at all. So again, I think they're just kind of setting us up to not have a conversation at the end of this series on whether or not the right choices were made. And I don't like that idea. I don't know. I like those conversations. I like when things are messy and whether or not, and like you get to have like these deep talks about why that is the way it should have been or why it isn't. I think that's really fun. As long as everybody's like calm about it, right? If you're just yelling at each other saying they did things wrong, it's not cool. But I like those deep conversations. I think it made for a really a good experience. It feels like they're taking that away from us here a little bit. 1000% agree. I feel very conflicted by the message. Bill was there in the game to really show what it's like if you don't have connection. Here, he serves the opposite person. Yeah, like it's opposite purpose. I don't know. It's a different take. I thought their story was beautiful. I feel like we're missing some of the warnings that Bill gave us in the game. The magazine is when they're listening to that song. You've heard it before, Kat. It's in the trailer when... Shut up. We could still get a magazine scene. Maybe. That's true. It could happen. If Ellie goes in this harsher direction, we've been starting to see the conversation can still take place. It shifts to, is she the right person to do this for? Yeah, I don't like that conversation. But on the other hand, we've seen the mycologists say bomb my family and my city to save humans. That's true. Was this the same truck design in the game? A couple of you guys mentioned it. I didn't go back and check. Is this the same one that we have to push in the game? I'm surprised nobody mentioned it when we first saw Bill riding around in it, like when Fedra first leaves. But I think that's fun. I think that's cool. This like little area felt very much like in the game too. Like you go into the garage and the truck is there and you've got some supplies you can loot in around the area. What do you like about that version? A version of what? She is with her family. I like how the game slowly made me do horrible things in the name of love without me realizing. And then I saw it was scary to feel that. But some people thought it was totally justified. Dan, I think that was an important thing to feel too and learn. Like you're with these characters. You are these characters. And then you're like, ooh, am I making mistakes here? What? Did I do something wrong? Like those were cool conversations to have. And it was a cool experience. But again, I think they're taking it away. What don't you like about it? The potential conversation I mentioned. You mean if Ellie goes a harsher direction? What don't I like about it? I don't like the idea of them taking away... Like, I liked that in the game, our questions were, did we do the right thing? Because we were Joel. Did we do the right thing? Did he do the right thing? I don't like the question to then shift to, like with what you were saying, is Ellie a good person? I don't like that question. I don't like it. I think it completely changes too much about the character. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but if that is what they're doing, I don't like that as much. I like the question, like what Dan was saying, like you start doing these things, you're with Joel when you're doing these things, and I at least was on his side. I could totally understand it, and then you kind of look back and you're like, oh, we just did that. Oh shoot, we just did that. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those moments, but because I was him, I could follow along. I don't know. I just don't like that idea of Ellie being the one in question. I like the homosexual aspect of this point of the series. It will take a lot of harsh criticism off of season 2 themes and bring the audience that will appreciate the artwork instead. I know, right? Get the audience that's upset with this out of here now. Just make them leave now. No, I just like how it wasn't like a topic they were afraid to show and discuss and do. Like both Naughty Dog in the game and HBO in this. And they did it, I think, very beautifully, very relatable. You didn't I don't know. I think they did a great job. It was good. It's Like Romeo and Juliet to me is a play about the pitfalls and extremes that love, and especially young love, can go, but to most, but others see it as a quintessential love story. I don't think it takes away from the conversation from the viewers. I think that the choices made by the character was always clear. Okay. I'm not concerned about how they'll depict Ellie. She may be a scamp at times, but I don't think it is the season. I don't think in this season she will become nasty. That's just my prediction. Okay. Yeah, I hope not. She definitely has she's definitely out for blood, though, in this one. These are going to be a little out of order at this end here. I'm sorry, I kind of went back a bit. I gotta talk about her shirt. I knew this was coming. I got so excited when I saw her lift that red shirt up. So they have to stay here a while while they're charging the battery to the car. And she's like, hot water, shower. I love this. Yep, I do the same. She kind of pokes fun at Joel for smelling. There's a scene with deodorant when they're both excited that they found deodorant. I'm so glad she put this shirt on, and what it was as soon as she turned around, we all knew it was coming. It was very exciting. Very cool. I'm not concerned. Okay, no, I read that. Okay, we're good. So that was fun, seeing her in her actual Ellie outfit. Like I said, let me go back to here. So she finds the gun. And this is what we were talking about earlier. And she gets access to a gun, not by Joel giving her one, because all of a sudden now Joel's saying, okay, I'm going to trust you here. Well, there's two big parts that happen in the game. One, she picks up a gun and she takes out. I'm gonna spoil the game here. So guys, I don't know if I can go there. Anyway, so she picks up a gun to do something in the game, and I think that sways Joel a little differently on things, and then he trusts her with a gun. Like, he actually finally hands her a gun, right? She grabs her own gun. She just has it. She just has it in her backpack. So we'll see I'm sure we're going to see what happens with this gun in the future episodes, and what, we'll see. I don't want to guess on this one, because I think it's going to be a similar thing. I think she's going to use this gun for a similar reason that she used in the first game. We'll see if that lines up. I think the critical conversation of what ends up happening is important. So sorry if it seems like I'm stuck on it. I'm actually a little worried they're going to drastically change the ending. I don't think they do that, but maybe. We'll see. She's a little harsher in the show, even with the sarcasm and banter with Joel. It's just, it seems like a teeny bit much at times. Yeah. I hope we look back on this when the series is complete and be like, oh, we had no idea. This was actually done perfect. I hope, like I said, I'm not going to hate it. I'm not going to be upset about it right now. I'm along for the ride. But I do have my concerns. If she becomes nasty, they might ground her with her eventual meaning with, oh my God, stop, David. Thank goodness they showered. Gun, boo. Yeah, weren't a fan that she found this early. Now in the game moment will be less impactful. It shows... when we get there, I'll talk about this more in detail on why I don't think it's going to be less impactful, because the big thing is this gun didn't come from Joel. It didn't come from Joel. And the big thing in the game was that trust. So I don't think we've lost that trust yet. We'll see where this leads, though. I love seeing the shirt immediately followed up by the gun. Smell of the house. I know, but they even, Frank and Bill thought of that. He left the window open. So like I said, I went a little out of order here. So then we get them driving away in their car, yay, and then the song being played in the truck. You guys have heard this before. Sorry, I have to make fun of the criticism I got when not recognizing songs. This is the same song that Frank and then Bill played on the piano. So we've got this circle here. We're coming back around to to the earlier parts of this episode. So we get to hear it on the radio. Even Joel appreciates it. Ellie likes it too. It was kind of a fun moment. And then, before that, though, we got the little spaceship reference, which was amazing. I think there are probably 2 or 3 times the chatter in this game is... I think there is probably 2 or 3 times the chatter in the game, so any character arcs in the show may feel rushed or in comparison. The final shot was was masterful. We knew why it was kept open, and the Last of Us players recognized the open window from the main menu of the game. Ellie is so cute. Well, she has her moments, right? But sometimes she's not cute, and she's terrifying. It's like, what the heck is happening? I've never heard this song before, Kat. It's in episode 3. Stop. But yeah, so I like this little part here. This is again in this episode, Ellie's obsession with space and going up into the sky. And I love it. She's like there's all these buttons and she doesn't even know what a seatbelt is, right? She's like Joel, physically, another little moment here where he kind of cares about her safety. He makes her put her seatbelt on. He actually physically almost touches her, right? Oh, the infected Ellie, he almost touches. So I like that. Another little moment there where Joel is becoming just a teensy bit softer. Yeah, and it's cute. I like her, not her obsession with space, but her excitement towards space. And then this is our final scene that we see in this show. Bella is 20 years old, I read today. She's so small, though. Yeah, this came into mind yesterday. If she plays Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2, which I'm assuming she will, I hope they can make her look older. She's just somebody that doesn't age. And Ellie looks older in Part 2. The way Ellie looks in Part 2, I would almost be, Ashley Johnson could play Ellie in Part 2. That's how much older Ellie looks in that one. To me. So I hope they are able to make her look a little older when the time comes. Maybe she uses the gun to kill the guy that attacked Joel who almost drowned. Yeah, so tweets, I think you're right. That's what I was going at. The reason why I was tiptoeing over that is I don't want to give away too much in what happens in the game in the future to not spoil it. I have people in chat who've only seen the series but haven't played the game. So we'll talk about the game only up until this point in the series, but I think that's where they're going to go with that as well. Yeah. I think Linda Ronstadt is about to get a bit of a bump in reverse, just like Kate Bush from Stranger Things. Yeah, all of a sudden people are like, oh, this is the Last of Us song. Yeah, even though her music's been around forever. That's a good possibility. All right, but yeah, so we get this end scene. I'm glad we didn't see their bodies here. We didn't need to. You can picture it. You don't need to picture it, but what happened. We don't need the gruesome image of it. And I feel like that would have ruined the send-off to Bill and Frank. So we get to see the room, the thoughtfulness of Bill opening the window, the artwork from Frank in the corner. And it is a little reminiscent. I didn't make that connection before either. And I think Dan just mentioned it, but it is a little reminiscent of the menu screen from the game. It's an open window with the curtains. I like that connection. Zombie apocalypse can add 10 years to how you look. Yeah, we don't need to see the bodies. I agree. They have ways to make people look older and younger. Yeah, I think they in this one there's probably a lot more effort to make Ellie look younger in this as well, Bella Ramsey. So I'm just hoping that they can work with that and make her look a little older in the second one. Bill is not dead in the game. Frank is dead. Bill's alive. We don't really get a follow-up on Bill. We kind of part our ways, and we just assume that he just continues on being a survivalist. It's kind of a sad ending to... I think Bill's ending, because he didn't really get one in the Last of Us game, is more sad than this ending. This is very complete. I feel very much okay, I can let those two go now. Where in the game, it was dang, are we going to see Bill again? I feel like they need to make Ellie look a bit taller for season 2. That won't be possible. She's so tiny. She is really small. The older makeup job was, oh gosh, I know. They really did look just older, Frank and Bill. Really good. we'll see. We'll see how I think we're thinking way too far in the future here about Ellie in part 2, but yeah, just some things that crossed our minds. Ellie looks stronger, looks capable of fighting, where Bella just, oh, see, I never got that Taylor from Ellie. I felt like Ellie in part 2 looked super, now she wasn't, but I think she looked frail. I think she looked malnourished, and like, you could tell that her life was just hard. And like, she didn't take good care of herself. That's how I felt about Ellie in part 2. Whenever I saw her like in a tank top or anything, I'm like, oh, this girl. But also you get this crazy contrast from her and, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but Abby. So maybe that's why it felt a little bit more like she just wasn't taking care of herself. But again, going too far in the future here. Yeah, the show feels like a happy ending. I prefer the show, but I don't know because I never played the game. I think most people who played the game really appreciated the amount of story we got with Bill and Frank. I think overall it's a positive response from the players. Very different though. Very, very different. We didn't get any of this. We didn't get any history like this. We get little notes around the game. We get some conversations and some hints dropped from Bill. And then we unfortunately come across Frank's hanging body. And that's it. I really hope they get a really buff and fit woman for Abby. They need to. They've got to. They got to. Ellie loses weight during part 2. I think so too. Like, and I think it was intentional. I think it was like she wasn't taking care of herself. She wasn't. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for my little slideshow here. And I hope you guys liked having the conversation with me, the review, and kind of going back through things. I love the series so far. Any negative thoughts about actor portrayal or storylines and game comparisons are gone after this episode. It was so good. Oh, Rockefeller, that's good to hear. This episode was definitely a test. I think for us to see how much change they might have in this series. There might the first couple changes where I was like, oh, they switched Fedra with infected when Tess died. It was like, okay, that was minor. That was a minor change. This was a big change. This was like, it was a whole history we didn't get, but the bigger change is Bill, right? Bill ended up being a big old wonderful softie at the end. Yes, Frank commits suicide in the game and hangs himself alone. They split. Bill and Frank split. It's really sad. It's really dark. I can see why they rewrote it. But the game is dark. Like, this is a world, like, in the game, the world is dark. There's very little happy endings. And so that's what you got with Bill and Frank. Really, really sad. They could show Abby at the end of this season before the actor will be in the gym for 2 seasons. I love this format, Kat. I need to discuss this with... Okay, good. I'm glad. So we'll probably keep this up because it definitely makes it easier for me. And I like sometimes I'll just be, if I'm just a talking head, like sometimes you guys are like, oh my gosh, she missed this thing. And so if you bring it to my attention here, we can talk about it right here and then. And I think that's fun. This was just beautiful television, period. I don't care that it deviated from the game. This was powerful. Beautiful. I agree. Really good. Really good. Dude, what the F? Yeah, it's rough. Best. It was rough. You don't feel as, at least for me, I didn't feel as emotionally attached. Like, I didn't know who Frank was. I didn't get to know him. I didn't get to know how beautiful their life was together at any point. So when I read across it, I was like, oh, that's so sad. I didn't cry. This made me cry a lot. I was like, no. So way more emotion in this one than what we experienced in the game. Like, it was sad. And you kind of like put the pieces together, like how awful it was for Bill. But you kind of just, I didn't have as much invested into it. You know, I was like, oh, that really sucks. That's awful. This was heartbreaking. I really like watching and hearing your take. Oh, thanks, Tweets. I'm glad you guys were part of it. Thanks for this Cat and Chat. The different viewpoints made me appreciate this episode even more. Same. Everything you guys bring up is always so good and so powerful. I really love Joel not knowing what to say Tess is to him. My mind. Oh, I forgot that line. Punish. That was great. At first, I thought he said that because he didn't know how to say, like, his partner, right? Because he was talking to Bill at that dinner date, and he was like, I do the same to protect he didn't want to say wife. He didn't want to say girlfriend because Frank isn't Bill's wife or girlfriend. I thought it was awkward. Like Joel didn't know how to say like spouse or partner. Like he was just like, mine. But I think you're right. I think some of that hesitation to put a title in the relationship is part of that. Like he didn't even really know what to consider Tess. And I like that. Good punished. That was a cool thing to mention. I'm so glad the show didn't flop. I was scared for it. And I'm glad. This is going to put games being made into shows and movies on a new level, which I hope everyone's like, shoot, we're going to make this into a movie. We're going to make this game into a movie or a show. We got to do it at the same quality and level as the way The Last of Us did it. How did they accomplish that? Let's make sure this happens the right way. So good stuff. I was surprised that I teared up. I couldn't hold. Oh, it was so sad. The game is full of small stories and families or relationship that fall apart or end abruptly. Yeah, and most of the time, you just get that through notes, right? There's so many little stories you get through notes. I hope we actually get to see some of them. Love you, Kat and chat together again this Sunday. Yes, Kat, are you not streaming in Twitch anymore? No, I haven't streamed in Twitch for a long time. I started making the YouTube videos, and then I just wanted to keep everything in one place, so I stream live on YouTube instead, just because it's all here. It's all easy to get to. Joel doesn't want to acknowledge he has feelings for Tess. I think Joel was trying to protect himself. He's like, I can't love anybody because I'll lose them. I think that was his kind of attitude. Can't wait for the Pac-Man HBO TV series. I can't even tell if that's a real thing. I hope not. I hope they make Spider-Man into a movie. Can you imagine? True. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm going to get working on some edits that I need to do that I've been putting off. I'm so sorry. It was a busy weekend. Thanks for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys. We'll just do this next time. It seems like overall you guys like this format, so we'll keep it up. I'll see you every Monday, and if not, I'll see you guys tomorrow where I'll be playing Spider-Man if you want to join me for that. But yes, have a wonderful day, guys, and I will catch you next time.